Hello, everyone. My name is W, also known as William, host of the High Art on the Edge page. Today, May 12th, I had a wonderful discussion with Edinburgh's finest, Sun Shines Cold. Brian Jordan and Colin Miles joined me in a discussion to talk about their latest album, gorgeous album, Echoes of a Former Life. As you watch the video, learn all about the making of this album, who mastered it, why this album resonates not just with them, but with us fans. In addition, you will get an opportunity to hear some vinyl picks that Colin and Brian had to share with us. So grab a good drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy my interview, Album Listening Party, Sun Shines Cold.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is W, aka host of the High Art on the Edge page. Today, we've got a special event. We're heading over and flying to Edinburgh, Scotland, to meet with two friends of ours. We're going to have an album listening party, plus a Q&A and a record giveaway, along with records that are going to be shared and recommended to you, the audience. In today's discussion, we're going to examine a brand new album by Sun Shines Cold, Echoes of a Former Life. In a little bit, I'm going to tell you how to get involved in an album listening party right there in your own home. Before I do that, I want to bring in Colin Miles and Brian Jordan, Sun Shines Cold. Welcome, you two.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Thank you for agreeing to this interview and conversation album listening party. Much appreciated. Before I talk about the details on how to do a listening party, how are you feeling now that the album's been out for a couple weeks?
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's been steady with it. I have to say, there was quite a lot of initial buzz, and it's definitely still there. So we're
Very proud actually, because it's taken a long time actually, so to get it together. So yeah, really pleased.
Well, I think it has touched people's lives already. I think it's already entered into the psyche in an album that I get a feeling as we get into a deeper discussion about these tracks. This album is very layered, it's textured, it's melodic, it's heavy. I think it's got a lot of emotion and great rhythm to it. So I want to learn more about how you kind of put all this together after the album listening party. So if you are tuning in, number one, let us know where you are tuning in from. I am right here in the sunny Bay Area right now. Number two, if you've never done an album listening party experience, please pay close attention. Here's what you're going to do. You are going to pull up the album Echoes of a Former Life. If you have it on vinyl, go ahead and put it on a little silver platter of yours. If you do not, head on over to Bandcamp, Apple, Spotify, and bring the album up. And when I say hit it, which is what HI stands for, you're going to hit play on your device at home, and you're going to follow along with comments made by all of us, and I'll keep everyone in track by listing the song title all in all caps. And that way you won't get lost. And if you have any questions for Brian or Colin, please, you can drop them in the comments box, or you can hold on to your question till we get to the Q&A part, and feel free to ask then. We'll pepper them in, and we will take those questions as they come. Are you two ready?
Yeah.
This is exciting. I have to ask you, when was the last time you listened to this album in full?
In full.
Wow, that's a good question. I would say probably about 6 weeks ago, something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
If not more than that. Individual songs, yeah, but in full, probably, yeah.
You spend
Long
so much time when you're mixing it, listening to it, that once you've got the final mix and it's all sent off, you kind of let it lie for a little while.
Sure.
But yeah, it's.
I mean, we both run, as we were saying earlier on, so it's like, you know, you maybe put it on and listen to the whole album, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like a good wine, right? You got to let it breathe a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Let it settle, let it percolate. Okay, everyone, get your album, the album, Echoes of a Former Life, pulled up on your device at home. We are going to mute our button so you don't hear our music coming through. And I will keep everyone moving along nicely by typing in the song titles. The first song is Before, and crank it, right? And let us know how these songs are affecting you. We want to hear from you. Chit chat. That's what this communal experience is all about. Enjoy Echoes of a Former Life. And when I say hit it, you're going to hit play at home. Here we go. Vinka is here. Hello, Vinka. Yes.
Hey, Vinka.
Hi, Vinka.
A very loyal fan of the DKFM experience and bands. Very loyal. Enjoy the album listening party. Sunshine's Cold. My name is W. Here we go. Hit it. There it is. Welcome back, everyone. At least by my knowledge, the album is over. The curtains have taken shut. What a great oral experience that was. My name is W, host of the High Art on the Edge page. I'm here with Sunshine's Cold, Brian, and Colin. And I have to ask you two this question. If you can unmute. We'll get you there. We'll get you there. There should be that little button right there. It should be right on your little box and have a little microphone. There we go.
You did
Yeah.
it.
We're back. And before we launch into a deep dive in the making of this album, how did that feel?
Good.
Very good.
Did you overlook all the mistakes? Because I didn't hear many.
No, there are. Yeah.
There are a couple, but you're not supposed to notice them.
Particularly vocals. I was very, very tuned in on my vocals, so yeah.
Are you two gentlemen hard on yourselves when it comes to making music? Are you perfectionists?
We are perfectionists, but we're pretty self-depreciating. We don't really know if what we've done is any good. We like it, so we sort of. But after we'd finished recording, even any track that we finished recording, we sort of look at each other and go, "Do you think that's any good?" So.
What about you, Brian?
We'll even have that discussion about, you know, if there's just something that doesn't really sit well with us, and then we'll just go back and, you know, try to get it right, you know. So
Yeah.
I guess perfection in a way, but, you know, obviously to the listener, but yeah.
We know we're not perfect.
Yeah. There's room for improvement, that's what.
And it's funny because I've done many of these interviews and I hear kind of that there's room for improvement, but I want to know exactly what.
I don't know. I think some of our production techniques we could improve on. But realistically, in terms of the songwriting and the actual writing of the tunes, I don't think there's a huge amount of improvement there. There are certain technical aspects we would like to improve on, but I don't think our song or composition work needs a huge amount of improvement. We've got enough in the tank to probably do another 3 albums fairly quickly if we had the resource to go off and do it.
I think being a guitarist as well, it's like, especially in this kind of genre of music, you're just looking for that. I feel I'm always looking for this sound that I want, and I feel I'm not quite getting there, but
He's still looking for the right sound for my bass, but that's another story.
But that's part of the fun, right? That's the chasing.
Yeah.
And that's the exploration. So, Brian, I want to start with you. When did music become a major part of your life, and how did it become important to you?
Going back to probably the early 80s, maybe. Just talking, obviously we'll speak about the albums that we've got to showcase for you. So we kind of brought up all together. There's a group of us in our hometown, and we were all kind of into the whole kind of punk movement at some point. And then there became this kind of like a kind of crossover between rockabilly and punk, which was called psychobilly at the time, which really took off. It was quite big in the UK. And then really from there, bands like the Cramps and these and the Meteors, bands like that. That's really when I sort of really got into music. Yeah, for me. Yeah.
What about you, Colin?
I kind of got into music definitely in the sort of early 80s. First singles were probably Einstein a Go-Go and Kings of the Wild Frontier, Adam and the Ants, that I went up the street and spent my pocket money on. But then my elder sister was into a lot of the sort of Ultravox, Steve Strange, Visage, that kind of thing, and I got quite into that just because I was hearing it quite a lot. But then, the progression from that definitely was the some of the gigs that we started going to. I mean, the first few gigs were probably for me Big Country and The Cult, and then The Cure. But I mean, I have to say we also entered this phase where we all got buzz cuts, flat tops, big quiffs, and jumped about to the Meteors, the Cramps, and went to see the sort of psychobilly bands that were up and coming in the UK. Grew out of that with pretty much when Manchester hit, and then very quickly followed by shoegaze.
Brian, did your parents support your love of music?
Absolutely, yeah. Just going back to like members of the family. So my sister was into the likes of Depeche Mode and The Cure at that time as well. But one thing that always sticks in my mind as a child, well, maybe as a teenager, maybe waking up on a Sunday morning, maybe a slight hangover at the age of 15 or 16, and my father would have the Carpenters or Simon & Garfunkel on which was just absolutely great to wake up to. Absolutely, yeah. So, but in terms of supporting, yeah, absolutely. Even to this day, my mother would support me. Yeah.
You don't always get that in artists. Sometimes I've heard where one of the parents has been, or both, very adamantly opposed for their child to have any enjoyment with the arts because maybe they felt like the arts wasn't going to provide income for them, or it was kind of an underground thing. So, what about you, Colin? Did your parents support you?
Yeah, well, I come from a musical family. My grandfather was a jazz pianist after the war and played in a lot of the big bands that toured the UK post-war. His father, my great-grandfather, played cello, which I went on to do at school, which led me on to playing bass, obviously. But yeah, I mean, my parents always, we always had music on in the house. We always had music on in the car. I don't think anybody ever sort of thought we were going to make a career out of it, and we're not making a career out of it. But they were always happy to support and fund, guitar purchases when we were younger. Lessons. My siblings got piano lessons. I had my cello. So yeah, I mean, there was always support there. And had it turned into a career, I fully think they would have been, more than happy.
Brian, while growing up or now, did you have any hobbies outside of music that gave you some time away from it?
Well, sort of in my sort of early teens, I was very keen on BMX riding. So I was never ever off my bike. Always looking for ramps here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. So that was a thing. Yeah, and well, out with music. Not really. Music was a really big part of growing up, actually, with a group of friends that we have in our hometown. It's like music and just the whole, as I said before, the whole kind of punk movement, and or post-punk probably it was at that time.
I'm going to ask you a tough question here, Brian. How would you say riding a bike BMX style is similar to playing music?
I think when you hit that sound, it's like hitting a big air.
Yeah.
Out a quarter pipe, yeah.
Yeah. And how long did you bike for?
Oh, years, till I was probably about 16.
Yeah.
Like most people had given it up by then, but I didn't.
What about you, Colin? What about some of your hobbies?
Mainly music again. I mean, it genuinely was listening to music, playing, and out with that, it was really sports. More so, I played golf as a kid with my father and my brother. So yeah, that there's not a huge amount of comparison to golf and music, but yeah, those were pretty much my hobbies as a child. But more focused on music. I mean, I used to come in from school, and the first thing I'd do is put a record on. And if I didn't put a record on, I'd be playing either playing away on an acoustic or my bass or cello.
Brian, was there a memorable concert that you experienced when you were younger that when you saw so-and-so on stage, you said, ooh, I want to do that. I can do that.
Oh, I think one of my first concerts was the Jam, actually, at the Edinburgh Playhouse. But God, to come back to that.
So what? Okay, well, let's talk about that show, because I'd never seen the Jam, and I know many people that have. So what made it special for you?
I think it was my first sort of real gig. Big band at the time. It was for the Gift tour. And it just made me feel it kind of makes you feel like this kind of movement that's going on. I mean, the Jam were very big at that time. Yeah. I'm trying to think what the difficult one, actually. We've been to so many gigs that there's lots of them are so memorable.
Yeah.
Even just like a few years ago, I think we saw Depeche Mode in Munich, and to me that resonates with me. It's just like it was just something that just sticks with me. But there's
Yeah.
certain, you know, like my Bloody Valentine, I said before as well. Just I think just shoot that the whole vibe about My Bloody Valentine, you know, and just the sheer noise, really. It was just noise.
Depeche Mode just released that amazing new album. Too many people's surprise. So it's and I know they're putting on great shows here in the States. So
We're seeing them in Bratislava in 2 weeks.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're both traveling to Bratislava with some friends to go and see them. We've seen them every tour since 2000, no, probably 1996.
Nice.
And we've seen them twice in Munich at the Olympic Stadium. Saw them in not Berlin, it was just outside Berlin, the big square, a big festival.
Leipzig.
Leipzig.
Yeah.
And this time we're going to Bratislava. So the two bands we travel to go and see with friends are The Cure and Depeche Mode. We make a boys' weekend of it. My wife's through there listening, so she knows all about it. It's fine.
So they have something going on that's very special, right? Martin and David. You two work together as a pair. What are your strengths that you guys offer to each other as musicians? How do you do this kind of work and stay friends?
Patience.
Yeah, we've got different skill sets. I mean, realistically, you know, Brian's done some lyrics on the album. Historically, I wrote a lot of the lyrics, and I wrote quite a lot for the album. The way we sort of work together tends to be that we just get together and play. And when we get together and play, Brian will then say, "Look, let's record the bass line, and I'll go up the road, and he'll build a song." And then I might add in the bass six, which isn't really a bass; it's a baritone guitar. So it's like an extra lead guitar, but with a deeper, warmer sound. And obviously, Brian will then put the vocals in. But at the same time, you know, Mr. Jordan here doesn't warm to social media. So, you know, all the marketing's left on my shoulders to sort of get us out there and get a bit of attention. But you know, the music's now speaking for itself, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
How long have you guys known each other for?
Probably 40 years.
Pretty much 40 years, yeah.
Wow. You know, that reminds me of the band Softset.
Yeah.
I watched that one.
Yeah.
I drew the same similarities.
So let's talk about when Sun Shines Cold started as a band, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with the audience.
Well, we were Breeze initially as a four-piece with Jason Brown and Ben Miles, who's my brother. And yeah, we did that for a few years in the 90s, played a few live gigs, had a decent set, mainly our own work, a couple of cover versions. And then everybody went off and did their own thing. Our rehearsal rooms burned down, so we lost a few amps and a drum kit, which didn't help. Ryan and Ben went off to university. Jason and I were left in sunny Peebles before I moved through to Edinburgh a few years later. And then we kind of hooked back up again in our probably about 10 years later. I mean, we were still friends and going to gigs and going out at the weekend. But we hooked up musically about 10 years later and started working on just recording on an 8-track. And just
yeah.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I thought I lost you there. And so with the beginning of Sun Shines Cold, did you kind of have a plan, a vision of what you wanted to create?
I think it was. I don't think we had a plan or a vision. I think it was just putting all our influences into one basket, really. And I think we've got that. You know, there's always like, you know, we generally talk about this and think, you know, oh, where are we going with this and how do we sound? And it's like, well, it sounds like Sunshine's Cold. You know, if we're writing a new track, it's like sounds like Sunshine's Cold. You know. But yeah, I just think it's just putting all our influences, and you know, the whole kind of a little bit of dark wave, a little bit of, you know, shoegaze, a little bit of post punk. You know, that's kind of what we plan. You know.
With this album, well, okay, so let's go actually before that. Let's go to your, was it 45? One of your first singles?
Yeah.
So that was 3 years ago. In just that short amount of time, how are you improving as artists, or how have you improved? And I know COVID hit, and I understand all that, but just in 3 years, where do you feel like you've improved?
Well, I mean, 45 and Blind are both good tracks in their own right, and would quite happily sit on an album. I don't think musically we've improved. We are trying to improve in production, but you know, you've got to remember that without Blind and 45 being picked up by Vinca and Greg at DKFM, we wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't have done an album, because it was only after those tracks were picked up, and then, you know, after Vinca and Greg had picked them up, Brett Miller also followed up, and he's bought all of our stuff as well. Eardrum Buzz Radio and Big Sonic Heaven have also supported. So, you know, from that side of things, and then you start getting a bit of play in Europe and a bit of play in the UK as well. So with that kind of momentum that came particularly from those two tracks, you know, BBC picked up Blind, which was great as well. And, you know, we then decided to keep recording, and we did a few more EPs, and then obviously kicked off with the album. But in terms of improvement, I mean, the improvement really is going to be in production. I think with some of our post-rock stuff that we've got still locked away, the album is not a particularly post-rock album. It's more sort of shoegazy post-punk with elements of post-rock. But some of the post-rock stuff we've got it's a big sound. It really is a big sound, and we've yet to really sort of, you know, push too hard on that side of our music.
I think as well that just like song structure, I mean, you know, you have the sort of song, the theory behind music, and the sort of like the structure of how, you know, it should be a verse, chorus. To us, sometimes, you know, does it need to be like that? You know, so we're kind of looking a little bit more about the structure. Okay, you know, some tracks will fit that sort of mainstream structure, but there's others. You know, it's like, you know, post rock doesn't really have that kind of that sort of mainstream structure. I don't think. You know, it has a structure of its own. I think, you know,
you can go anywhere.
You can go anywhere with it. Exactly. Yeah. So but that's one thing we're kind of, certainly for me, when, you know, we're kind of laying down the tracks, it's something that I want to improve in, you know, an area.
When did you drop the very first seed for this album?
We dropped the seed for the album after we released.
Oh, there we go.
I think we're back. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
You dropped the seed.
Yeah, I think the internet dropped. Where were we?
Well, where did we sort of the seed for the album? Yeah.
Yeah, after Autumn Lights, We thought it was only going to take a year, but it obviously was going to take us longer. So we put out a couple of post-rock tracks that we'd been working on. And we're kind of in our locker, which was the Temporal Solace EP, just to sort of keep us going. Because we knew the album was going to take a few more months. We were thinking another 3 or 4 months, but it took another year. The album took 2 years when it was supposed to take a year.
How did you two get through COVID?
I wrote songs. Yeah, it was a good time for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We sent tracks back and forward to each other. I mean, Alone was something that, great tune, but it was nearly the end of us because we sent tracks back and forward to each other throughout COVID, to the point where we were me in particular was trying to be a perfectionist with it, and it probably went back and forward about 60 times, and that wasn't helpful.
And you guys don't have to get too personal, because I understand the pandemic affected us in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But if you want to share, how did it affect you emotionally? Did it wear on you like many other people?
Well, I actually work in the health service.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't say I was front line with COVID patients, but I was, I was in it. It was extremely scary to go to work. But you just had to, I mean, even up until, perhaps, 6 months, maybe a year ago, working in the health service, there are occasions where we need to go into ITU to do some diagnostic tests as part of my work. And it's still very scary,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the album cover?
Yeah.
Yes. Where was that taken?
So it's a derelict tunnel. It's an old railway tunnel, yeah. And when we were young, we used to spend quite a lot of time there.
Drinking.
And doing things we probably shouldn't have been doing. Yeah. So
getting loaded.
Yeah, and it, obviously the echoes of her former life. It was like, well, you said it. It was the photo. The cover picture was more to do with our sort of not our childhood, but as growing up, as teenagers and into sort of 20s and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's half a mile long, the tunnel. That's obviously one part of it, the one entrance, and you can still walk through it. And bizarrely, there's a trail run which incorporates the tunnel, and they light it up. And Brian and I have done the trail run a couple of times with our friend Isaac, who's watching in, I think, yeah, but mainly that tunnel is used by kids who are basically drinking and getting up to no good, if the truth be told.
It's a beautiful, stunning cover. And I think in my observation...
Photo was taken by Vic, my wife.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I have to say that, or life's not worth living. But yeah, she took the photo, and it's a great photograph.
I understand this is probably my third, fourth, maybe fifth interview with artists that have worked with a gentleman by the name of Simon Scott. So could you two share with us who Simon Scott is and how did he support you and provide assistance?
Well, Colin done most. I'll leave that to you, Colin. You've done most of it.
Simon Scott is obviously the drummer with Slowdive, who has SBS mastering and masters many bands, a lot within the shoegaze scene. Hang on, not sure what's happened there.
While Colin is fixing whatever he needs to fix, yeah.
Sorry, William. It's our screens went down. Give me a second.
Okay, everyone, this is what we're gonna do. I want you to hop back on, and we're gonna be back on here in about 30 seconds. Oh wait, no, I can't. Can you? Is there any way you guys can leave the studio?
Yeah.
Okay, leave the studio. Get back on. Okay. I can see you guys clearly. So
Okay.
I would do it on the phone then. It's fine.
Do it because we can see you via the phone. So just continue.
okay. So go ahead. Let us know who's Simon Scott again, the drummer for Slowdive.
Yeah, I mean Simon Scott basically drummer for Slowdive. He SPS mastering, works a lot with other acts within the scene. We released Blind in 45. They were shared on Twitter by DKFM and some of the other stations. Simon then followed us on Twitter, at which point we then got in touch. Well, we got in touch when we decided to release the album. He'd followed us and obviously had liked some of our work whenever it was shared. So we then got in touch when we were doing the album, asked him if he'd like to master it, and he said, yeah, without a doubt. He likes what we do, so felt it was good enough to obviously put his magic touch to it.
How long did it take for him to master? A week?
Yeah, about a week. It doesn't take too long, in all honesty. We went back with There Came a Rain, and it was nothing to do with what Simon had done. It was just we'd left the vocals too low in the mix, and he was quite happy to fix that. But yeah, it didn't take long at all. And I have to say, we were pretty happy with what he did off the bat. There wasn't a lot of toing and froing at all. He obviously had a listen to the tracks, came back with feedback on the tracks and what he felt he could do. And then went ahead and did it. And it came back, pretty much as we would want it. In fact, very much as we would want it.
I heard he's very meticulous about the way he goes about his business, the way that he.
I was speaking to John Welby about this earlier. I don't think he does anything he doesn't like. He's pretty meticulous in that way.
Yeah, no, that's pretty special. Let's go into the album. Brian, I want to hear from you. What are some tracks that you feel that you guys just nailed it?
For me personally, I think There Came a Rain, and also Sundowning. Were certainly two tracks that I feel were probably perhaps our best, but Colin may think differently. I don't know.
No, I think There Came a Rain and Sundowning are very good, but I do think that Tried So Hard, there was a huge amount of work went into Tried So Hard, and obviously it layers up so many guitars and so many, there's 2-3 lines done on the bass 6 as well as a standard bass line, and I think there's a lot to Tried So Hard, whereas There Came a Rain is pretty instant big. But do you know what? I like Before as well. I like the opening track of the album. Somebody said it sets out our palette of sort of sounds that we were using. And I think that is very much the case.
Was there a particular song, Brian, that you remember that you encountered that was just not working? You were struggling with?
Tried So Hard, actually, the lyrics to begin with. and I think we went through quite a lot of changes for the vocals. I just found it really quite difficult to sing, which and I think on Gone as well. I found that because I like to have that kind of like dreamy sound, and I thought Gone was perhaps a little bit kind of deeper, a bit more kind of post-punk, really, rather than it being shoegazy. Yeah.
What about you, Colin?
Yeah, I like Gone. I mean, Gone's one of these tracks that there's quite a lot went on behind the scenes in Gone. Gone was it was an instrumental that we'd done a bit of work on, probably kicked off from a bass line, which I called a goth mess about. I think was the polite way that we would that I described it. But yeah, it was. As an instrumental, I was driving up one night to Brian's, and I sort of started singing along to it, and that's how the lyrics came about. And it is quite sort of Banshees influenced in a sense. But also when we were mixing it with Neil said, "Oh, that intro sounds like a completely different track. Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Because it sets the tone for the rest of it to kick in." Because after that intro, the bass comes in like a bolt of lightning. So at the end of the day, I think the intro really works, and the track is a good track. So yeah, Gone is good and tried so hard for me as well.
Can you tell us who Neil Landstrom is?
Neil Landstrom's a friend of ours. He was a very good friend of my brother's, and grew up with us in Peebles. He is very successful in experimental electronic music, mainly sort of Detroit style techno, and sort of German type techno. So it's quite an underground scene, but he's got 13, 14 albums out. So he's very established, and he also gigs across Europe and America most of the year. But I mean, he's been hugely helpful with us because obviously he's helped us mix. We've done some work in his studio. We've done a track with him, Alone remix was done with Neil in his studio. And we're looking at doing some work with him in the studio again within the next 6 months. I was speaking to Neil this week, and we're looking at going into the studio with him potentially in August. I think I was yet to tell you that, Brian.
Yeah, that's a new one to me.
It was only yesterday I spoke to him.
Oh, there's tension after the first album.
that difficult second album.
Brian, patience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Brian, I got to ask you this question. On this album, Echoes of a Former Life, what is it that you love about it?
I think it's again. I think I've said this before, but it's just bringing all our influences together and kind of making it our own. Making it our own sound. And it's very sort of privileged for that to happen and sort of get it onto vinyl. It's very, very grateful for all the support that's out there. Absolutely.
Massive.
What about you, Colin? What do you love about this album?
I think we got the running order absolutely spot on.
Yes.
Which, we knew we had to try and make the sides fairly even in terms of timing, and we knew that Before was the first track, and we knew because your sound, your sonics are always better on the first cut, the first grooves of the vinyl. So we knew that There Came a Rain was going to be the first track on on side 2, because we wanted it to have a really strong sound. The album tends to, sound quality wise, not that many people would notice, but as you get towards the center, the sound quality does tend to weaken ever so slightly. So we knew that There Came a Rain had to be track 1 on side 2 to give it that, that best quality of sound. So yeah, and I think the running order tells the story in the way that we would want it told.
The lyrics. do you guys like doing lyrics? Does that come naturally for you?
Well,
That's for me. I write quite a lot of lyrics. I don't have a problem writing lyrics, and I wouldn't say the lyrics in this album are overly complicated, to tell you the truth.
I think as well that we do write some post rock tracks that don't generally have lyrics, which kind of suited me because I'm the one I'm the one that has to sing. But saying that, I mean, I hadn't really sung with a mic for probably about 20 years, So just getting back to that is, it's like I'm having to, train my voice a little bit to get somewhere that's half decent, yeah.
I'm going to read some comments here from the viewers. Vinka says, looking for the right sound is like some of us visual artists looking for just the right color hue. Vinka is such she has that ability to really articulate a thought and a feeling in a way that's, it's just resonant, just spot on. John says, nothing else to do in Borders except music.
That's true. Yeah.
Unless you're a sheep farmer, but that's the same where he lives.
Let's see here. Vinka says, cool Detroit techno. I'm familiar with a smidgen of it. With this album, what confidence does it give you moving into the next one?
Lots of confidence. I think before it was, we would write a track and then it's just like having that initial sort of recognition from Blind with, for instance, when Vinka picked it up, it's like, hearing that and getting that support, it certainly does give you that confidence. And to get this far, to get it onto vinyl and out there, it's, it's just it's like a springboard. We're just like quite keen to get the next one out, really, and start writing again. Yeah.
Colin, what about you?
Yeah, definitely given us more confidence. I mean, obviously the sort of initial buzz behind the first couple of singles and then the further EPs got us into the position where we knew we wanted to do an album. And obviously from this, I think we're in a good position, and we've got a lot of stuff in the tank to get out there. As I say, we've got a lot of material that we're working on. It's not finished. It's not the finished article, but we've definitely got enough there to get another album out. Hopefully within the next sort of year to 18 months. Obviously, we're now part of 1991 recordings with John Welby, Last Tourist, and 93 Million Miles from the Sun, Nick Noble. So, they've looked at what we're doing and they like it and want us part of the fold. So that just adds strength to what we do, because obviously if we are going to get out there live, we would do it with them. And we are looking at doing an event in Birmingham later on in the year. Not sure if we'll be ready for it, but we're going to try. And if that does happen, we'll then sort of roll on and push forward and do more of that kind of thing. But also the strength of having a group of bands together like that allows you to go to some of the sort of stations in the UK and hopefully get, because the UK market, it's quite difficult to get established in.
With this album, you talk about some very heavy subject matter. One in particular, the end of the road, perhaps. I find it to be an amazing topic to discuss. I know it's difficult. What prompted you to explore the end of life?
I think, in all honesty, that the sort of end of life exploration, it's just seeing sort of people you care about going into latter stages and fading. I mean, the only real reference to end of life or death probably comes in There Came a Rain, but obviously we rise again, and there came a rain. Whereas Sundowning is really there's a lot of relationship stuff in the album. Looking at previous relationships, looking at previous lifestyles, and Gone is very much about a lifestyle rather than a relationship. But Sundowning definitely explores the sort of, the fading as we go into our latter years, and some of the things that can affect us in our latter years, and obviously affect those round about, people that have these afflictions.
Yeah. Agree.
Do either of you have the vinyl nearby?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah.
Okay, so how does that feel holding that little baby?
Fantastic.
Speaking of vinyl, I want to know some of the albums you cherish, you love, that you would love to share with us.
Cool. We'll
Yeah.
just grab them.
So right now, everyone, we're going to do the high five section of this Q&A, where I've asked our friends here to bring some vinyl to the conversation. And they're going to share albums that have inspired them along the way. And feel free to put in questions for Sometimes Cold. My name is W, host of the High Art on the Edge. And here we go. Brian, what goodies do you have for us?
Okay, first up, going back to the early 80s. Now, the reason for this band is, as we said, we were into this kind of rockabilly punk type era, and it encouraged me to play the guitar. So I just loved the whole sort of like, your hollow body guitars, the big Gretsch guitars, so I've actually got 2 albums by this. So the first one is this one.
Oh, nice.
So that's the Cramps, Off the Bone, yeah? Yeah. So that's really what got me playing the guitar. And even sometimes today, when I'm just having a little tinker on the guitar, I'm still playing some rockabilly.
And that's a picture disc one.
It is a picture disc, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And when did you pick that one up?
And it's 3D as well, actually. It came with 3D glasses, but they've been displaced somewhere.
You get them free in the cinema.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But yeah, fantastic cover. Yeah, vinyl.
So what is it about the Cramps that you just gravitate towards?
Oh, just the power and Poison Ivy and Lux Interior. What a
Double act.
What a double act. And then Slim Jim on the drums, or the bass, sorry. Yeah. So very good.
Keep going.
That's my first one.
Okay, you guys want to switch off or just do whatever? I don't care. Whatever works.
What do you mean?
Do you want to go, Brian goes and you go?
Turns. Yeah, we can do turnabout, yeah.
Yeah.
My first choice isn't actually an album, it's an EP, and it's the first Manchester song. So it was Pre-Stone Roses, and you're really going to like it, William, because it's Indian Rope by the Charlatans.
Woo!
Which I think I probably procured from my brother, who was a DJ at indie discos in Edinburgh. But yeah, I mean, we've seen the Charlatans probably 3 or 4 times. And this was very much a brand new sound that came in the 90s and changed life for a lot of people, I think.
I'm sure one of you or both of you have heard me say this before.
Yeah. Tim.
One of the biggest reasons is why I'm sitting here in front of this screen is because of Tim Burgess and those album listening parties that he does on Twitter. And so I tip of my cap to him and what he was able to do with that in terms of bringing people together, particularly during COVID time. I said, I want to do something like that, and I want to do it differently, but I want to honor kind of what he does. So great pick. Great pick. Go ahead, Brian. What's your next one?
Okay, next up, the mighty Slow Dive.
Oh.
No, I noticed the last time you had Just for a Day on your shelf in the background
Uh-huh.
on one of your shows, yeah. So I thought I won't show that, but this is one of the first tracks I saw from heard from Slow Dive. So it's from the Morning Rise EP, and in particular, the song that I heard first was She Calls, and I just thought, what is this? This is absolutely fantastic, and yeah, been a favourite. You know, we're 30 years on, probably 20 years on, so yeah.
So what is it about Slow Dive that you appreciate?
I just love the sound they create, even to now actually. But these sort of darker ones, I think, you know, Morning Rise, She Calls, and Losing Today. I just thought it's such a great EP and just such a sound. It's just a wall of sound, you know, and just the vocals that just soar on the background. It's just just love it. Yeah.
We used to lie about listening to Just for a Day. There was a whole crowd of us that just used to sort of, you know, it just when Just for the Day came on, nobody spoke.
Yeah.
And if they did, I would say, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, that's a great pick. Great pick, Brian. I could talk about Slow Dive all day. All right, Cole, what's your next one?
2 and 1. The rise of Early Cure, Picture Disc Faith, and the demise of Early Cure, Picture Disc Pornography. Obviously, after Pornography, Mr. Gallup left the band for a few years. But yeah, both such immense albums and incredibly different, because Faith kind of sets the tone for shoegaze, really, with a lot of the tracks on there. And Pornography is just such a drug-fueled, angry album. It really is. It's an absolute work of art, though. Both albums are an absolute work of art.
Seminal albums in their own way. And with Pornography, I've always felt like that there's like a scalpel to it, right? And it just cuts you up and you're just bleeding. And just the wall of sound and the lyrics. I mean, there's so many elements to that album. And then I love how the Cure just build, and then we get to the Mountaintop, right? What many people consider their finest, Disintegration. That's always up for debate. But yeah, great pick. And you know, I feel like Faith. What do you think, Colin? Do you feel like Faith doesn't get enough credit, or too much credit?
I think Faith is starting to get a lot of credit now, because I think a lot of the bands in the shoegaze scene do credit Faith for being the one that really sort of, you know, set the tone. However, Disintegration, I agree, is absolutely seminal and probably considered their opus in terms of what they've done. I mean, I saw the Disintegration tour. We've seen them probably 15 times. You know, but we've travelled abroad to see them. We saw them twice on their latest tour, Poland and Glasgow.
Oh,
yeah, Wish as well. I'm noticing on some of the blogs that Wish is pushed as a very influential album in the shoegaze scene, which surprises me. But yeah, I can hear where they're coming from. But I certainly think from our point of view, Faith. I mean, we've sat one night and played All Cats Are Grey, you know, covered it and played it for about 3 hours solid. I think we'd had too much red wine, but it was fun at the time.
Oh God! Don't get me going on the Cure. All right, so we go Psychobilly, we go shoegaze, dream pop. Brian, what's your next one?
Okay, next one up is Spiritualized. Laser guided melodies. Yeah.
Jesus.
Fantastic album.
What an album.
So obviously, like, we were into Spacemen 3 at the time. Recurring was, you know, a fantastic album. And then obviously Jason split, and created Spiritualized, yeah. And that album to me is just like, some of the tracks on that are just absolute, and some of the EPs around that time as well are just absolutely fantastic. Lovely sound, yeah, great.
If you've never experienced a Spiritualized show, I highly recommend it.
We have.
It's you know, there's nothing thrilling about it in terms of aesthetics. It's just he just puts his head down. He has his sunglasses on. He's got his backing vocalists on there on the stage, a small choir, and then he has his amazing
Yeah.
musicians.
Yeah,
And it's just all music.
yeah.
It's very much, sometimes it feels like a recital a little bit to me. And I love that he doesn't talk to the audience. But that is one amazing album. I'm glad you brought that one up. And if Moon Cowboy is watching, Ricardo Fiel, he would agree with you. He's a big Spiritualized fan.
Okay.
Colin, what's your next one?
Similar vein, as Spiritualized, ladies and gentlemen, we're floating in space. And
There it is.
I have to say that this is the one piece of vinyl where the CD was actually cooler, because the CD was the pillbox.
Yeah.
So it's lovely. I mean, it's beautiful blue vinyl. It's a really, lovely bit of work. But no, the album itself, we've seen this performed live, and I think it was an orchestra, accompanied by an orchestra, and it's just so good. I mean, tracks like obviously the opening track, Ladies and Gentlemen, and Broken Heart are just so moving. Broken Heart is such a beautiful track.
If you can find this, you will love it. You might already have it. This is the radio. This is the radio sessions, volume 1. And Mark Radcliffe interviewed him or the band, and then they do these amazing versions of Medication, Let It Flow, Electric Mainline.
Yeah.
Walking with Jesus. But the real blue ribbon track here is Step Into the Breeze. The quality isn't high quality. I mean, it's pretty darn good. But if you can find this, it's really good. Yeah. Keep it going. Let's go.
Right, I thought it was almost done, but I'm going to go back to probably the early 90s, and just an EP as well that, following from Nowhere, Ride Nowhere, is Unfamiliar, which I just thought as an EP, every track is outstanding, in my opinion, particularly Senin.
Yes.
It's just such a lovely sound, and the guitars are just awesome, brilliant.
So
that's following Nowhere as well. So which was a great album. Yeah.
Brian, did you get into when they released Smile?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just, I feel like they're doing some really good work right now too.
Yeah.
Oh no, they are. The new stuff's great. Yeah. So similarly to Slowdive, they've what they're creating now is as good, if not better, than what they were doing initially.
And what Mark Gardner's doing, mastering other people's work.
Yeah.
Mark and Simon. Yeah, good stuff. All right. What about you, Colin?
Well, I was going to go Ride Nowhere, but Brian's already went there. So I'm going to go for probably the best difficult second album. That.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bit of a curveball there. Obviously, Turn on the Bright Lights is absolutely superb. But I always thought, in terms of second albums, but everybody goes, there's a difficult second album. They're so hard to make. this is just mind blowing. I mean, the opening track, Next Exit, just absolutely stunning. So, yeah, and obviously live as well. You've got, the likes of Not Even Jail, Slow Hands, which are live staples if you go and see Interpol. So, yeah, it's an album that I thoroughly enjoy. And my son bought me it as well. And both my sons are coming with me to see Interpol on the night that we fly back in from Bratislava seeing Depeche Mode. So proud dad moment that both my kids are my sons, obviously my daughter's too young, but both my boys are coming to see Interpol.
You are a good father. And they better appreciate and respect that. Okay, so I've got to put you on the spot here.
Can we just say we do have one album between us that we need to share?
So, but hold on. So, we'll get to that in a sec. So,
okay.
True or false? Interpol has made another great album since those first two albums.
Yeah, I like I Love to Admire, and I like El Pinta.
Okay.
False for me. No. Turn on the bright lights.
Very good. Vinka says, was that Last Taurus? Yes, let's talk about it.
It was, yeah.
Do you want to hold that up?
Yeah. Last Taurus. We both picked this one.
All right.
We both bought it. It's a great album, and not just because John's been supportive. It's just, superb. I mean, Black Raven initially kind of hit me as being, oh wow, there's somebody that sounded a bit like the Jesus and Mary Chain, and that was long before I ever spoke to John. And then obviously you've got Riding Seas as the opening track.
Lust is a favourite for me.
Yeah, Lust,
tremendous.
Lust and Lemon Twist, superb tracks. So yeah, it's a great album, and it's getting a lot of play at the moment, I have to say. I know that the likes of Brian and John, who I think are tuned in as well, and Vinka, all have a lot of love for Last Tourist and what they're doing at the moment. And I have to say that we agree entirely. They're blending that sort of post-punk and shoegaze very, very well indeed.
Yeah, that album is pretty damn special.
I actually see that album as well. I'm seeing influences from a couple of tracks that sound a little bit like Spiritualized as well. I don't know if they realise that, but I certainly get that feel as well. So yeah, great album.
John's a massive Interpol fan, so there are elements of Interpol in there as well. And I know that he likes some of their newer stuff too. So I'm not alone in thinking that their later albums are okay.
But before we do the album giveaway, what's next for Sunshine's Cold?
So I think we'll just continue to write and make some tunes. As Colin was saying, I've already got some in the that might be in the archive at the moment, but we just want to bring them forward again and just start working on them and see what we can create.
Yeah, we're also working on the live set. So those are the two sort of main drivers at the moment. Working on what we're going to try and do live, and obviously getting some more stuff out. I mean, there's a track we're going to be working on probably tomorrow afternoon, which is sounding really good, and it's kind of one of 5 that we've got earmarked for the next release, and we've got another 2 or 3 that we're kind of thinking about. As I say, we've also got 3 or 4 post-rock tracks that we could finish off and get the production right and put out a post-rock EP in the next sort of 2 or 3 months if we really wanted to. But if we did that, it probably wouldn't go out on vinyl. Whereas if we're going to do another album, we would like to do another vinyl release.
Yeah, fabulous. If any of you have a question for Colin and Brian, go ahead, put it in the chat box. So what's this giveaway? What's this all about?
Whoa.
We've got the album itself and a test pressing. So, you know, if there's enough people tuned in, we can give both away separately. So yeah, we can work out how we do that. But basically, I'm sure there is. So yeah, the test pressing is obviously just a white label. We're more than happy to, you know, write Sunshine's Cold, and if people want, we can sign our names on that. And obviously the album itself.
So how would you like, let's do the test pressing first.
Okay. Just dropped the album. Just went over the side. It's fine. There's another copy.
I've just dusted it down.
Patience. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, I think the question. Do you want the question or how?
Yeah, I think what you should do is put the question out for the audience,
Right.
and the first person that types in the answer gets
Yeah. Get the first person that types in the answer can have the test pressing, and the second person can have the album. Basically, that's probably the best way to do it.
Okay.
So the question is, like many bands, for instance, Slowdive took their name from Susie and the Banshees lyrics. Our name is taken from lyrics as well. Can you name the band and the song?
Okay, so can you name the band and the song? They can use any help right now. Go ahead, punch in your answer right now in the comments section. We will see what pops up. They're working hard right now.
Google's just crashed.
Okay, we still have artificial intelligence somewhere. We're good. Waiting for Brian. Vinka. Vinka says, I know the band, but not the track.
Okay. If nobody gets it, obviously, if nobody gets the track, first person to name the band gets the test. If nobody gets it.
So I guess you could punch in that answer. So Vinka, if you know the band, The Cure. Wait.
Yes.
So on my screen, I know the band, but not the track. And then right after that, Mark says The Cure to Wish Impossible Thing.
Yeah, Mark's actually helped us make a video for our Figurehead cover of The Cure. So he's been very helpful, I have to say. Right.
So Vinka gets the expression.
Right, yeah.
And Mark.
Yeah, Vinka can have the expression Mark's album.
Yep. Well done.
This has been wonderful. I'm glad we were able to host this event together in a way that really, again, highlights the work that you two do as artists creatively. I love that there's been a relationship there for so many years, and obviously shines through in the work. You guys have a really great rapport with each other. And I love that you continue to go to these shows with each other.
The sound quality is gone?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's very muffled.
Uh-oh. How about now?
No.
Hold on a sec. How about now?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
perfect,
fine.
perfect.
Vinka says, just with an echo and a lot of fuzz. This isn't good shoegaze.
Yeah, it was kind of my bloody Valentine for a minute there.
But anyways, what I was saying is that I love that you guys have such a great rapport with each other and been working together and friends for so long, and it definitely shines through in your work. And it's great that you get to continue to build stories by traveling together and going to these shows. Best of luck, and obviously all the hard work you put into this album. And I think you've got a lot of momentum on your side right now and a lot of support. So I think that's very palpable. So Brian, Colin, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you,
I'll give you
William.
the last final word. If you have anything else to share, go for it.
Well, just thank you to everyone for the support. I mean, it's been overwhelming, and thank you for having us on because, yeah, we really appreciate the work and the effort that's gone in, and obviously supporting us. So yeah, it's just a big thank you. We never really thought this would happen. It was a hobby, sort of getting back together and making music, and that hobby sort of took a turn 3 years ago, where people started noticing, as we said. Vinka and Greg at DKFM, followed by Brett and so on. So yeah, it's meant a lot. And obviously people like Brian Davey, John Emsley that have lent in and supported us. You know, John Emsley's a big voice in the shoegaze scene, shares a lot of good music, and Brian's got his own show on Mearns FM. And again, obviously pretty active on Twitter. Where we don't have a massive profile on Twitter, but Brian shared us a lot. So no, to absolutely everyone out there that's helped us out, we are just so grateful. Thank you very much.
I totally echo what Colin said. Yeah, much appreciated. Love it. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. And
Big shout out to Simon Leclerc as well, by the way.
Yes.
He's supported us hugely too, as has Chrissy and various others on DKFM. So yeah, massive support there too.
You have a lot of allegiance and support in your corner. It's great. Yeah, Vinka says we're the ones who should be thanking you. Brian says great stuff. All right, everyone. My name is W. That was a wonderful album listening party plus Q&A with Sunshine's Cold. Next up, next week, we have another event with the rising new artist by the name of Oliver Beardmore. So check him out. He is a massive Cure fan, and did a wonderful EP, and we're going to be promoting his new single Fade. So that is next week. Check it out on YouTube, Facebook, and now Twitter. TikTok, we're not there yet. Thanks again. Great music, everyone. It's always a good thing. Ciao.